Here's my review for Bioshock 2. Bioshock 2 is obviously the sequel to Bioshock 1, which many people consider one of the greatest games ever freaking made. I don't know why. I didn't think it was all that fantastic. It was good. I didn't think it was all that fantastic. But now the sequel's out, and everybody's like, you know what, it's good. It's just not as good as the first one. It's more of the same, people would say. And I have to disagree. But I will get into that into the review. Listen to the rest of the review to find out what I think of this one. Do I like it more? Maybe. Do I like it less? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, let's go on to the story of Bioshock. Okay, now the story in Bioshock 2 is good. It's just not that much of a story. All it is pretty much here. I can actually explain the story. You were the original Big Daddy. If you remember Big Daddy's from the first one and blah blah blah. You're the original one. Your name is Subject Delta. Now, because you're the original, so you have to have like a cool nickname. Anyway, you always have to have the cool nickname. You can't have just the first, or you can't be named Ron or anything. You have to have a cool nickname, and your nickname is Delta. And in the beginning, you see yourself with your little kid, your little sister. I don't know if they're kids for them and little sisters for everybody else, but I guess it's your kid, I guess, so the little sister. And pretty much this woman named Professor Lamb, I think her name was, strips you of your little sister, pretty much takes him away, and makes you shoot yourself. So, yeah, 10 years later, though, after the events of the first Bioshock, you awake, you're awoken, and you are pretty much instructed to find your little sister. And Professor Lamb is still out there, and you pretty much have to find her, try to get your little sister, whose name is Eleanor, I think. I forgot. Elena, I don't remember. Little sister, and you have to pretty much find her and get her back, pretty much from Professor Lamb. And through your ways, you have to fight like other bosses and stuff. Obviously, typical game fashion. Not really anything fantastic, but I thought the story was very cool. I definitely rooted for the main character, even though you barely know anything about it. It's a Big Daddy, so obviously you can't really talk or anything, so you don't really get much of a background story for him until much later in the game. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much the story. I liked it a lot. Let's go on to sound. Okay, now the sound in Bioshock 2 is, I'm just gonna say it right here, amazing. Now, Rapture it could be its own living, breathing place. It's pretty much Atlantis. I don't know if this is supposed to be what Atlantis would look like after or something. I don't know. I didn't really get much into the story of the first one, but it's pretty much Atlantis. It's an underwater civilization, and it sounds beautiful everywhere. So you hear like cracks of water, like dripping and stuff, water everywhere. You hear the splicers, who are their enemies, just talking to themselves and talking to other splicers. You hear them like crawling on walls and stuff. You hear like the sound design is fantastic. It's great sound, I have to admit. The voice acting is good too, but I have to admit just the sound design itself is just fantastic. So overall, the sound great, best part of the game. Well, okay, maybe not the best part. Let's go on to. Okay, now the graphics in the game are also very, very nice. I mean, the first one was pretty much celebrated as, wow, this game looks great. And this one, it looks still fantabulous, but it's kind of looking a little dated now because they up-resed it a little bit, but you can barely tell really. I mean, it's still a great looking game. The effects that you do, like the fire effects and all that shit, they look great. I have to admit, the water effects still look good. You run under the water and you see your screen it looks like your screen is covered in water. It's awesome. The graphics, the environments, everything. Just Rapture itself looks fantastic. And like all the maps in multiplayer might get bogged down a little bit because obviously it's multiplayer, but it still looks fantastic. So overall, the graphics, again, are amazing. So yeah, definitely Bioshock is something you should definitely consider for graphic-wise if you're a graphic hound. Okay, now the gameplay in Bioshock 2 is different from the first one. It feels very different, at least to me, because it's much more fun, I'll have to admit. The first one, it just lost me, like halfway through the second mission. It just lost me. I couldn't play it anymore. This time, it added multiplayer, added new plasmids, it added these things called tonics. I think I'm not sure. They might be in the original, but in this game they're called tonics. I don't know if they were in the first one. They probably were, but in this one it's pretty much skills. Like if your drill is 50% stronger, they're different from plasmids. Plasmids is the thing you're seeing right now, like where I'm throwing fire or I'm dashing forward or something, or I'm like setting traps or something. Plasmids are the same from Bioshock 1, except this time I think you have more, and you can actually upgrade them and stuff, which is really cool. I have to admit, it's really, really cool. The plasmids are much better in this, because I remember the plasmids in the first game I didn't really quite like. I mean, I had the fire ones and stuff. I was like, it's kind of boring, though. It really is. This time it just felt different because you're an actual Big Daddy maybe, and you could do different things, like you could set a trap here and then fucking shoot this guy, and you could do different things. And the first one, it just felt like fire, 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 lightning, 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 fire, 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 shoot, 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 fire, fire. You can't do any strategies, and I like strategies and shit like this. So yeah, the plasmids are definitely much better. The game is overall better. The gunplay is much better also, definitely in multiplayer and actual single player campaign. It's much, it's faster, it's much more fun, and this time in single player, obviously, you're Big Daddy, so that means you get a drill, which is awesome. You can actually put a tunic on the drill, which freezes enemies, and you can switch over to your gun and shoot their heads off, and they just burst into shards of ice. Awesome. I have to admit, it's awesome. It's definitely awesome. Much better than the first one. The gameplay is great, very fun, and the multiplayer, like I said before, is much more, much more fun than I thought it would be. So yeah. Anyway, let's go on to overall or entertainment, blah blah blah, and then I'll be done. And I'll tell you what I thought of the whole game. But obviously, you can tell I like it. Overall, Bioshock 2 is to me a much better game than Bioshock 1. Bioshock 1 I just couldn't get into, the plasmids weren't that great, and the gunplay was just boring, and the story overall was okay in Bioshock 1. I didn't really play it that much to see how much the story was in Bioshock 1, but I might try it out a little bit more, give it a bigger chance this time, because I really like Bioshock 2. So yeah, I'll give it much more of a chance this time. But yeah, Bioshock 2, I can tell you right now, I like it more than Bioshock 1. So I definitely think guys should play it. I'm not going to give it like a 9 or a 9.5. I'll give it like a 8.7 or 8.8. Don't expect me to give it like a 9 or a 9.5 or a 10. Don't expect that. But it's definitely a great game overall. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. At least until Alien vs. Predator comes out, which is this Tuesday. Yeah, I can't wait. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Look forward to my Wolfman review and my Dante's Inferno review coming out in the next 2 days. I am Gore the Movie God, and I love pie. Goodbye.